We're on.
Yeah, no, but I just said I'm not saying anything until Brittany.
I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Give me to the end of the podcast, and then I'll do the outro.
Are you gonna start? Okay, it's fantastic. All right, no, okay. Well, Brittany, I'm gonna hold you to that. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Super Deluxe Gamescast. It is Thursday. What is it? January 26th. Tonight, Dead Space drops. I'm very, very excited about this.
God.
Yeah. That's tomorrow, man. Dead Space is tomorrow. It's been getting fucking outstanding reviews.
How could
Dead
it
Space,
not?
The original Dead Space is one of the all-time horror greats, along with Dead Space 2, and this just made apparently what was already a very good game even better. So very, very excited about that, guys. It's been kind of a how do we say kind of a depressing week.
It's been a depressing couple of weeks, and we've managed to avoid a lot of it because we had we had our Game of the Year show, and then what was before that?
Before that, we talked about video games.
Yeah, we just had a light show because we had the interview. Yeah.
We talked about video games, and then before that, we talked about video games, and then, if memory serves, the week before that, we talked about video games.
I was fucking waiting for it. I was like, so you just described the whole fucking podcast?
I
Like,
hate
you're
you
just gonna,
so much.
You're just
Like
gonna sum it up to that?
And somehow, and somewhere in between, we interviewed Ben Starr, who, of course, is the voice.
I need to message him. I miss
Clive
him.
Rossfield in Final Fantasy VI. It's so weird that we can just like, hey, I can message this guy. Like,
well,
I
have that. I don't abuse that power because it's too much.
Hey, I talk to him all the time. But guys, I hope everybody's doing okay tonight. Again, it has been a kind of a depressing week in terms of layoffs and stuff like that. And we're gonna get into all this. We have a guest tonight. Ryan Easby is back all the way from the UK. What's up, buddy?
Yeah, what's up? I mean, not much other than everything's gone to hell the last few weeks, but
yeah, but video games though, am I right?
Yeah, they're great. I've not played anything that's came out in the last 10 years in the last 2 weeks.
No, video games are shit. That was the answer I'm looking for. Video games are terrible. No, it's good to have you back with us. Guys, we're going to start as we always do by talking about what we've been playing this week. And I've actually got something substantial to talk about, so I will wait. Derek, why don't you go first? Our producer.
I mean, I've got a couple things I've been playing.
Yeah, you sure as hell do.
First and foremost, probably most relevant, is I have been playing Forspoken.
You should have said first and Forspoken. And
shut the
fuck
fuck
up. Missed
up.
Opportunity.
It was.
You missed the fuck out.
John is just snapping him tonight.
He's actually on one. On one positive tonight. I have beaten Forspoken. We got a code a day early from Square Enix, so thank you to Square for the opportunity, calling out that we were given a code on PlayStation 5. We need to set up a time to record the actual Forspoken review. My opinion on this game has changed so much over the course of, like, from starting it to getting through the very lengthy, like, on-rails intro.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
To getting, like, into the meat of the game, to getting to the ending stretch. My opinions have changed drastically from point to point to point, like beginning to middle to end. And yet, what's so wild is at every point, if you put a gun to my head and made me, like, give a number to this game, which is not the way I do things. I don't like review scores. We don't do, like, numbered scores here on SDGC. But if you made me, I'd do, like, a 7 at each point, but for drastically different reasons, which is wild to me.
Is it worth the $70 that they're asking for?
So there's a lot of people who don't think any game is worth $70, and I'm simply not here to argue that. If people are not happy about the increase in prices for next gen or current gen, I guess I should say, games, I, in the end, liked Forspoken. I think it is an interesting game that is doing a lot of interesting things with its combat. I think it has the best traversal I've played in a like big open game, aside from like Spider-Man, which like Spider-Man's better, but that's it, like, how do you do better than Spider-Man? It's messy as a game, right? And to me, I think what clicked for me somewhere as I was moving from the halfway point to like the ending stretch is I realized this game's messy in almost the exact same way Final Fantasy 15 is messy.
What a coincidence!
Right, and Luminous Productions, right? It is actually it's frustrating to me how much people are dunking on Forspoken, like who are not playing it, who have no interest in playing it, and are kind of like jumping on the mimetic hatred of the game. And to me, there's nothing bad I can say about Forspoken that I would not also criticize Final Fantasy 15 for, as a game that people broadly love.
But like, can we give a shout out to them having a female protagonist and not killing her at the very beginning of the game?
I like Frey. That is not to say that she's done perfectly, right? The writing is uneven, but I like Frey as a character. It is nice to have a female protagonist, and a ton, like almost the whole cast is women, when you get right down to it, other than like one dude. Because it's Frey. There's your bestie, Alanis Morissette, that you meet when you go into the fantasy world.
Yes. Thank you.
Really?
She
just looks just like 90s Alanis Morissette. Her name is Alden.
Dude?
There is the Cuff. The Cuff is a dude. There's two dudes, but there's them. There's the Archivist. There's the judge you meet in the beginning. There's the 4 auntie witches that rule the world.
Is there a mom wife?
No.
Okay.
No.
That's good, because that's my position. So if I played that game, I'd be a little threatened.
But yeah, Forspoken is an interesting game to me, and I think that in a funny way, I was dead on with the Dragon's Dogma comparisons, for reasons I did not expect. I thought it was gonna be like Dragon's Dogma, in that like it's gonna punch above its weight class with like some aspects of the combat. Some of these mechanics are just going to be interesting enough that it finds like people who are going to call it a cult favorite, even if a bunch of people broadly are not that into it.
I'd just like to say that Final Fantasy 15 is a perfect video game, and I will not hear slander.
Well, we've got some issues with 15.
You have to read a book to get everything out of it.
It's not perfect. There's definitely some fair criticisms, but like it's a game that is struck close to a lot of people's hearts despite being messy. And I think Forspoken's going to be the same way. And actually, Forspoken improves on a lot of issues I have with Final Fantasy 15. So like, you know, I don't know. I actually think it's a better game than 15
You're selling me.
While being directly comparable in a lot of ways. Like I said, we'll talk more about this when we do an actual review in the next couple of days and get more in detail. But Forspoken has been interesting. And then I've also played like a tiny bit of Fire Emblem Engage. It's great. Horny Chess is back, motherfuckers.
I'm getting it. That's all I needed. That's the only confirmation I needed.
It's a great game to play. It is probably my favorite Fire Emblem to play since Awakening, or maybe earlier. I'm probably gonna end up liking it more than Awakening from a mechanical standpoint. Map and mission design is better and more complex. I like what they're doing with the mechanics, with the class systems. The whole like, you know, ring giving you a partner is really interesting. I know there's gonna be people who are upset you can't do the Barbie doll Playhouse thing and like make them kiss, but like there's still romance for the main character, and the game's still deeply horny. Like you meet your mom in Fire Emblem Engage.
Right. That is not what I was expecting you to follow up with.
Hang on, in the first like in like the first or second mission, and there's nothing going on. Like the game doesn't make like your character have like a weird thing for the mom, but the camera does, because it introduces mommy, and it's just like a lingering shot on the tits. Like this is a deeply horny anime game. There's no way around that. That's Fire Emblem. That's how Fire Emblem's always been.
Though. That's
Moms can be hot. What are you fucking talking about?
No, I mean introducing a character with her tits, Derek.
I'm probably exaggerating, but that's how it feels like in retrospect.
You are definitely exaggerating that one.
Okay, well,
I'm going to Google this and I'm going to find
there
out.
is a solid 2-second shot of Dragon Mommy's chest. But you know, like I said, it's horny chess. It's good. If you're a weeaboo, you're gonna love it. Ta-da!
I'm not a weeaboo and I love it.
Well, you should be. I don't understand how you're not.
Oh, it's not long. That's just her chest. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
But
I'm actually really interested for Britt to pick this up because it'll be Britt's first Fire Emblem.
it is gonna be, yeah.
And like, I think you're gonna really love the game, but I also think like I'm gonna be fascinated to hear a lot of your opinions on like what works and what is shitty about Fire Emblem, because that's just the franchise, right? Like, yeah. I really want to talk to you about this game.
So it's interesting. So Zach, we were talking about it last weekend, and I was like, I really want to get Fire Emblem, and he was like, you know what, I have 2. I just haven't had an excuse to get it. He was like, why don't we get it? And then you can play it first, and then I can play it. And I was like, cool. And he was like, but don't you? It's like a strategic like battle game. Aren't you not into that? And I was like, no. And he was like, why do you want to play it? And I was like, you can date in it. I was like, and I want to see the characters. I want to feel the thirst. And he was like, I don't know why I asked.
Fire Emblem's really approachable as far as like a strategy RPG goes.
I'm not a fan of RTSs whatsoever, but
it's not real time. It's turn based for what it's worth.
It's turn based.
Well,
it's turn based.
That battle system anyway.
Yeah.
I will give it a shot.
Yeah.
And if I don't like it, at least I can have somebody to pass the game on over to.
Yeah.
So what I'll say, and I guess Derek, unless you have something else you want to talk about.
No, I've just been playing more StarCraft Mass Recall, and it continues to be good, but it's fucking hard. So, Well,
I guess I'll jump in here because I am going to talk. What's that, Derek?
Nothing.
Oh, I'm sorry, buddy. Did I cut you off?
No, I'm sipping my alcohol.
Okay, what are you drinking, by the way?
It's rum and sparkling cider.
Ooh.
I love that. That's king shit right there. 100% a king.
Mm-hmm.
We love it.
Royalty bitches.
That's right.
So I have been playing quite a bit of Fire Emblem Engage this week. It's I've been kind of bouncing back and forth between that and Final Fantasy 14 of all things, which I rarely play. But Fire Emblem Engage, so right off the bat, I'm a longtime Fire Emblem fan, right? Like I've been playing Fire Emblem since,
what's your favorite Fire Emblem game? Gotta know.
Well, before this, it was either Awakening or Conquest.
Okay.
But granted, I'm only like on up to chapter 10, but from like a pure gameplay standpoint, like this is the best implementation of the turn-based tactical system present in Fire Emblem that I've seen.
Did you play Radiant Dawn on the Wii?
On the Wii? No,
Okay.
I didn't play Radiant Dawn.
I'm a huge fucking sicko for Radiant Dawn. Well, in Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn, the Ike games, but I'm gonna be chasing that high forever. So they're never gonna be brave enough to give me a fucking himbo hunk protagonist who in canon has a goth dragon twink boyfriend. So
am I right in saying that the fact that Awakening did that well is the only reason we kept Fire Emblem in the West?
yes, if Awakening hadn't done as well as it had, the franchise would be dead.
It would be dead. Awakening is what really.
I just want another canon gay protagonist like Ike, but we can't. So,
but no, Fire Emblem Engage from a tactical standpoint, in my opinion, is the best the franchise has been in over a decade. I will say that the character design of the main character, be it male or female, it takes some getting used to.
It's grown on me, I think.
It's like
are we talking about Fire Emblem still?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't like the hair color.
It's the Switch Joy-Cons. Like, I don't know.
That doesn't mean it's a good thing, and they're not mine because I have the Animal Crossings.
Like
Derek's just done. He's like, I'm not bantering. This is my fucking opinion. Y'all can take it or leave it.
It definitely took some getting used to, but I don't mind it now. I think it's not bad. Excuse me. I will say that if you were a big fan of the relationship options and the focus on, building relationships among your army in 3 houses, that's kind of gone. Obviously, you can still, get to know members of your army better. You can still, give them gifts and, have a meal with them and build rapport. You're just not going to find the level of depth in a relationship that you could in 3 houses. And one thing that Engage does so much better, well, a couple things actually that Engage does better so far than 3 houses is one, it looks and runs so much better. Let's face it, no matter how much you love 3 houses, that to me was one of the worst looking Fire Emblem games, not from a character art standpoint, because it was so drab and brown and there was no color. It ran like
anti-aliasing this time.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing how that helps.
I liked 3 houses, but
it was drab.
I mean, they were going.
Any early Switch game has aged particularly well, other than maybe Odyssey. Even Breath of the Wild doesn't run at like 20 FPS.
Yeah.
Regardless of all that, Fire Emblem Engage. Fire Emblem Engage looks and runs fantastic. It's so much more color. Like, I actually pulled up screens of Engage right next to ones from 3 houses, and it is stark just how much, not just from a visual yes, the graphics are better, but also it's so much more colorful, especially on that Switch OLED. It looks great.
I'll never play the game. The only thing I'll say about it is John, just on that topic, I watched the Digital Foundry video, and I couldn't believe I didn't pay much attention to these games. I didn't realize how bad 3 houses looked. Again, not artistically necessarily, just low resolution, just very basic. Yeah. And it does make a difference in the game when the world isn't as detailed. And just the comparisons they were showing between this one, they were really impressed too. But there's just so much more life. There's more the buildings have way more detail. There's background scenery. Just the environments that you spend all that time battling in and stuff like that are just way more convincing. It's shocking, honestly, given that it's the same console and it's just a couple years later. So I'm really impressed with the improvements they made.
So am I. And another thing I really like better than 3 houses is I don't like having to play the same game 3 times in a row to get the full grasp of the story.
You played Live Alive 6 times?
Right, but I like Live Alive. I
to
be
would fair, rather... Live Alive is a group of is Live Alive is an anthology.
Yeah,
right.
And Fire Emblem 3 Houses is a game where the first half is the same for all 4 campaigns.
Yes.
Oh, so it's Nier.
Well, no, not. I mean, no. So Nier. Nier.
The first half of that second run is identical.
But going through Nier Route B is rough.
But after that, shit gets drastically different. In 3 houses, more than half the game, everything is the same up until the up until the back end, depending on which house you pick.
Doesn't matter. Only one route has Claude.
Yeah. But in this, you can. There's one storyline that you go through, you play, and considering the Fire Emblem games are big and meaty. You could easily put 250, 300 hours into 3 houses to see the actual entire game, and I'm not all about that. So I love that I don't have to do that again in Fire Emblem Engage. I'm a huge fan, and I really enjoy it so far, and it turned out even better than I could have hoped. So hopefully they will continue on this trajectory for the Fire Emblem games. And speaking of tactical games, I would love to play Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp. If you can release Fire Emblem, why can't you release Advance Wars? It's come on, Nintendo, this is fucking stupid. Of course, I've also been playing Final Fantasy XIV, just grinding those Manderville gold saucer points to try to get my blackjack mount, and I'm not even halfway there. And it's a long, arduous process. If you know anything about grinding MGP in the gold saucer, it's not. Jeff, have you grinded MGP for long periods of time?
No, I'm not big on grinding. I dabbled in gold saucer, and I got a feel for the progression of the MGP and looked at how much the stuff costs, and I was like, I'm out. But eventually there will be the item that gets me to do it. If the item is good enough and I want it bad enough, I might cave, so we'll see.
I mean, start doing it now because man, the MGP grind is fucking brutal, dude. All right, so that's what I got going this week. Britt, how about you?
No, let's go to Jeff. I want to
Okay,
hear what
Jeff.
Jeff's been playing.
Jeff, how about you?
Ties in nicely with John, I guess. Trying to think. Not at. I've been playing lots of games, mostly Final Fantasy 14. Actually, I'll just quickly say I wrapped up. I think because it's been a couple weeks. I wrapped up Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. And yeah, really good game. I think like both this and Miles Morales were just a little buggier and unpolished than I'm used to from Insomniac, but I'm gonna give them a pass because they were both kind of like height of COVID, new gen games and stuff like that. But yeah, it was like a really nice throwback to like a PS2 era style. It was nice to just play like a simple game again. There wasn't like 1,000 skill trees. Like everyone knows, I'm just sick of like I wasn't scavenging, crafting. I didn't have like 500 like codex pages and stuff to go. Like it's just a basic
Don't play
ass game.
Forspoken.
I just yeah, I know. I'm learning again. This is why I steer away from a lot of like modern AAA action games. But yeah, it was a nice palate cleanser. And what else? Just really quickly, GoldenEye just dropped about an hour ago on Switch and Xbox, so I played about 30 minutes. So on Xbox, I didn't realize this till recently. Actually, it's technically it's a free update for Rare Replay, and if you have an Xbox and don't own Rare Replay, I don't know what you're doing or why you have, because that's like one of the best collections of games out there. If you're a fan of, as we all learned at the charity stream, N64 games have aged like a fine wine. So some of the best ones
Banjo-Kazooie's on there, but
are in this collection.
Drink to that.
But yeah, I mean, there's gonna be people who haven't played it in like 20 years that are disappointed. I know what it is. I've played the Perfect Dark that's on Rare Replay, and this I was happy to see. So I guess the Switch version did not get updated modern controls. This one seems to play just like Perfect Dark what does. So you still have the weird Z targeting or with like the crosshair and stuff that's just inherent to these N64 Rare shooters. But yeah, it's like the Halo style, like the right stick camera, left stick. It feels surprisingly good. It's definitely not 60 FPS, at least on Series S. It's not 30. It's like 30 to 60 all over the place constantly, but it looks really sharp, and I mean, it is what it is. We all played it at 10 FPS on the N64, so I'm not going to complain too much about that.
I do wonder if because the Xbox version doesn't have online multiplayer, the Switch version does, and I do wonder what deal was struck there, because according to the composer, the music's different as well. So something's happened in the remastering process to.
Well, the Switch version is
that.
straight up missing instruments and like in the music tracks. I don't know if y'all have heard, but the classic like gong noise is missing from the start screen, like pause music,
Unforgivable.
which is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So sorry, that's The Last of Us 2, Britt. I put something in the Discord chat that's really really funny.
And then oh, sorry, John.
No, Jeff, go ahead. No, well, I was
Sure.
just going to say that I don't know if you saw this or not, but GoldenEye 64 on Nintendo Switch Online is the first game on NSO that you can get rid of those that Nintendo UI on either side of the screen.
Impressive.
But does it run well online? Because no Nintendo game does.
Let me tell you about me and Britt and Rar playing Mario Party online at like 2 frames per second. It would just straight up freeze during the middle of a mini game.
The only way we were able to
Fucking
tolerate
rough.
it is because we were fucking drunk. Any other time,
Trashed.
any other time, I would have been like, "Fuck this, let's go do something else." But we were drunk, so we powered through it, and to nobody's surprise, I lost. So there's that. Stuck around for no fucking reason.
So yeah, GoldenEye, good. I'm probably gonna play through the campaign. But the bulk of what I've been playing, which will, this is off topic for this podcast, is Final Fantasy 14. Good old Final Fantasy 14. I played through. I haven't really touched it since shortly after Endwalker, because that's how I like to play this game. I'm really bad with like my memory, so if I play the story content as it comes out, like 4 months later, I've like forgotten it all and I have to refresh it. So I'd rather just like do a big story refresh and then play like a few patches worth of stuff at the time. So I played 6.1 to 6.3. Absolutely love where the main story is going. The new character Zero is fucking awesome. I'm not.
She's the best.
Zero, except the hat thing. I can't help but think Milady every time she but
Lady.
but she is
She
so
can
good, and
Courtney Milady me all she wants.
I hope she sticks around. I like a lot of the women in 14, but I think I mean we spent a lot of time with Alize, but I really liked Yugiri from like kind of post and pre Stormblood. But she kind of just disappeared, and they haven't seemed to do much with her lately. Like Lady Iceheart, Isael, not really around. Moan Brita, like a lot of the women characters that I fall in love with in the game, either for one reason or another, don't seem to stick around. Like the cast is still predominantly male, and Zero's like a really good, just like a strong character with a lot of potential in terms of like her interactions and the difference with which she sees the world from everyone else. So I won't give any spoilers away, but yeah, I'm really excited to see where that's going. And shout out to John. I was item level gated on the last trial I needed to finish the main story quests at 595, and John came through crafting me a new weapon. So
Hey, look, I am always willing to help a friend. Okay, all you got to do. Jeff's like, "Can I pay you for the mats?" I'm like, "No." Like, no, you may not.
So that's my next topic. So yeah, I mean, I'm not big on grinding gear, but I started Island Sanctuary, which is wonderful. But I fucking discovered housing. So the story behind this is I didn't even think about housing for the 3 years I've been playing the game, because all I hear about is what a nightmare it is, how expensive it is. I was like, I'm never even going to be able to like get anywhere near this. I'm not going to touch. And I just happened to find out that you can actually buy an apartment, which is a lot cheaper and more readily available.
That's what I have, Jeff. That's what I have, an apartment.
I did not know
roomies. Jeff, let's be Final Fantasy roomies.
I did not know apartments existed, and I like sold all my furnishing shit that I've got a long time ago because I was like, I'm never going to use this. So now I had to go and buy a lot of stuff back because like I can't just buy an apartment and not furnish it. And then in typical me fashion, because I'm just a fucking idiot and don't ever understand like the systems in games, for some reason I made it up in my head that all the housing stuff is only available on the market board. So I paid like 60,000 per item on the market board and cleaned myself. I have like 50,000 gil left. I was at like almost 2 million. I have no money. I will do horrible things for money in 14. So
I will send you.
You know what? Same. No shame, Jeff. No shame.
Jeff,
Yeah.
move into my apartment.
Can
We
I
put
do
an extra
that?
bed in there. Yes, no, we put an extra bed in there.
Those apartments aren't that big. I need my space, John. I need
you can have the whole corner. Like
This
the whole
really
corner.
just sounds like real life at this point.
dude, let's be Final Fantasy roomies. Hey,
Okay.
Nick, what's up in chat, buddy? Hey,
Tell you what,
dude,
I'll
He's
bring
already
over.
my basement folk. You can have him.
I'll bring over a toothbrush. I'll bring over some spare clothes, and you can give me a little drawer in your apartment.
Dude, we'll go out. We'll paint the town red. Like
Sweet.
let's be Final Fantasy 14 roomies, buddy.
Which district are you in? Which
Fuck,
city?
I don't know. I can't remember.
I love this for you, nerds.
John's apartment is covered in dust. He has not been there.
Kalusia.
Okay.
That's where I'm at.
Okay,
That's where
all
I'm
right.
at. I don't know why I forgot that. But we're roommates now.
So yeah, and
Not a
other than
lot.
that, I'm just I guess the last thing is I get very frustrated, I guess, because I was playing through the main story stuff, and it really bothers me when I feel like I'm losing. I like to really be. I play this game mostly for the story, so I like want to know everything that's going on, and I was feeling a little fuzzy. So first things, I grabbed the Encyclopedia Eorzea, Volume 1 and 2. Tons
That's a
of really
fucking
good lore.
awesome looking book, dude.
They're great books. They're super detailed, but the thing I love is they not only cover most of like the main bits from 1.0, which I never played. I didn't play till Realm Reborn, but they've got a lot of detail and background, and it's written pretty well on like kind of everything, even pre 1.0, like the first 6 astral areas or astral eras, all the calamities and things like that. And there's just tons of detailed stuff on like individual characters. It's got like the whole, Realm Reborn main story recap, and the first volume goes all the way up to the end of Heaven's Ward. So I'm actually replaying Heaven's Ward as well because I forgot how good this expansion is, because they've got New Game Plus for all the main campaigns in the game. And yeah, just this is my game I'm settling into. There is a free trial. But yeah, it's nice.
Absolutely. Where's CJ? CJ, if you're listening, you can play Final Fantasy 14 for free up to level 60, and it includes the Heaven's Word expansion.
Good news, CJ's not fucking listening.
But
I'm gonna
Derek,
make him.
I want to
Derek
believe that
is.
somewhere out there he just had a moment where he was like,
Derek is listening.
Someone's
Derek
trying
is
to get me to
listening.
play 14.
Derek, I'm trying to get you to play 14.
It's not gonna happen. I'm sorry.
Yo,
That sounded
yes,
sultry,
it will.
John.
So
Hey, look, I'll do what I
that's
gotta
it. Let's hear from someone else. That's what I'm playing.
Jeff, are we like seriously roommates now? Because I'll log on after the podcast.
Well, no,
and
like
I'll,
I'm on the
show you
podcast. I
around.
haven't done anything.
No, I mean like after the podcast,
Oh.
I will. Let's log on. And I can show you around your new digs. I got a bar.
But we can't actually be roommates, can we? I
No.
can't move in.
No, I don't know why he's
This is
like
not a
trying to push
system.
this on you. It's
There's not a
thing.
roommate
You
system in Final
no,
Fantasy.
No, because
Okay.
no, because
So you just want me to come
visit-
over and have
no,
a beer?
No. I can
That's
give
what you
you
want.
permissions to my apartment to come in wherever you want. It's basically like giving you a key.
But he can't decorate.
Man, what? Who gives a shit?
That's what he wants to
fucking
do.
do it.
He gives a shit.
Man, whatever. Ryan, what are you playing?
Not Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah,
Get him off the call. Get him off.
I've been playing 3 different games, and they're so totally different that it's going to sound like I'm shitposting. I've been replaying Super Mario World, which is still the best Mario game ever made.
It's the best platform ever made for sure.
Oh, it's so good. I've been playing. I finished the main story. Not the main story. I finished the main game, and I just downloaded a ton of the more difficult ROM hacks. So I've just been sitting on my Steam Deck, just in like 10 minutes at a time, just trying to beat a level and failing. I've replayed for something I'm working on.
Jeff.
I replayed
Sorry, man,
Kingdom
go ahead.
Hearts. I played Kingdom Hearts 1 again for something I'm working on, and that's still that's still an incredible incredible RPG.
Okay,
I put-
Ryan, can I point something out real quick about what you just said? So you just said you're playing Kingdom Hearts, like the first one, right?
Yes.
You're right. All right. So anybody who criticizes the dialogue in Forspoken, but yet says like Kingdom Hearts is the fucking most well-written game ever,
They don't have a leg
Like-
to stand on.
shut the fuck up. Anyway, please.
Make
Ryan.
up a
Kingdom
guy.
Hearts is incredibly badly written, but I won't hear a bad word against it. It's like watching my son get punched. If
What was
somebody
that
criticizes it.
line? What was that line? Like
Which
Riku,
one?
It's in Kingdom Hearts 2, and Riku and Sora are sitting on the beach, and
Oh,
Riku's
fucking
like,
hell. There's
Rico
so
was like-
many.
no, and Riku says some shit like, he says some shit like, you know, the best thing about being me is that I get you as a friend, or some
Yeah,
shit like that. And I
So many
remember
lines.
like,
I'm
I
going to
remember,
use
like-
that on this podcast sometime soon.
I like that's generally what he's saying. I'm not quoting verbatim here, but like I love Kingdom Hearts. I like threw down my controller and stormed out of the room. I was like, fuck that. I was like, no.
What's
I've-
wrong with a good bromance, John?
They're gay. They are clearly gay. There's no heterosexual explanation for their relationship.
I'm gonna let them figure that out, all right? I'm not gonna put labels on them. That's for them to decide. Until then, they are bros.
I finished the first game plus the Fanamics content, and I honestly think that people who say, "Oh, Kingdom Hearts 2 is so much better, it's way better," they are wrong. Kingdom Hearts
No,
1
they're
is
right.
as good. Kingdom Hearts 1 is as good as Kingdom Hearts 2. The combat isn't quite there, but the story is way better. Mainly because the Kingdom Hearts 2 story, without another game, is incomprehensible.
The Kingdom Hearts 1 story is incomprehensible.
That's much easier to understand. It's an evil dude, you go and kill him. Kingdom Hearts 2, if you don't play the Game Boy game. I've also been playing, and this is directly influenced by HBO, The Last of Us for the first time.
I want
All
the
right.
show
The
made me want to go back and
first
play this also.
time? Wow.
I've never saw like The Last of Us on PS3 came out when I was 13 years old. So
Yeah.
I just never played it. Then Remastered came out when I was 14, and I just never played it. And now it's 2023. I've got a lot of spare time all of a sudden, and I can't afford the Last of Us Part 1, like the new one. But on PS Plus, Remastered is there, and I was like, I've got some spare time, I'll give it a go. And I think I'm halfway through, and I can't believe I waited 10 years to play this. It's
Very
Neither can I, because that game is fucking awesome.
it's so good. Like
That game is
every
fucking awesome.
every beat the HBO show's done so far has been done better in the game somehow, and I don't understand it. Like on a fundamental level, I don't understand how two completely disparate mediums can be so similar in the way they're portrayed, and yet one can do it so much better.
So
I think this is why, like, sorry not to cut you off, Brian, but
No,
I think this
you-
is why, like, when I get like an adaptation of something, I like it to like bring something new to the table. And it's not to say like we're doing a podcast on the last series and it's very well made, but like it's taking a cinematic, like very story-driven game and translating it into a cinematic, story-driven TV show, and it's basically just recreating everything. But like, inevitably, when like the original is so good, it's like the same thing as these Disney remakes. Obviously, The Last of Us HBO was a lot better, but like, it's just especially for people who played the game, like it's just a different performance, a different take on it. But so much of it is so much the same. Like, inevitably, it's hard to recapture that. But it's interesting to see someone like you who's playing the game like alongside the show for the first time and still say that like you prefer a lot of the beats in the game.
Beats work so much better, I think, because I feel like I have a hand in it. It's not like it's got branching narratives or anything. This isn't a BioWare game, but I feel like I have a hand in everything I do. Whereas I don't know, that feels kind of missing when I'm watching the show. But I also prefer my adaptations to be not one-to-one, but to be close to the originals while adding things. I mean, the Mario Bros. Movie, the original, that is just too far the other way for me. Where
Yeah.
it just jumps the shark. But something like the Sonic movie, where it adds stuff, but it is just Sonic at its core.
You just reminded me of that interview that Bob Hoskins did when he was talking about Mario, and they were like, "What was your experience playing Mario?"
You don't remember it?
In the Mario movie, and he was like, "I'm looking at this thinking I used to play King Lear." Can I say something about it was something you brought up, Ryan?
Yeah.
When you're talking about The Last of Us and you're comparing it to the show, Britt, obviously, at the end of episode 2, there's a nice little mushroom kiss between the infected and Tess.
Spoiler alert. Yep.
Do you know what we call that?
We call that a fucking tragedy, is what we call that.
Well, technically it's referred to as a fungus.
How do I leave this?
Eric, please. Please get him out of
I'm
here.
glad you're giving me something I have to fucking censor when I edit. I like doing work on this podcast.
Get him out of here.
How is that a spoiler?
It's
You
the end
did
of an
spoil
episode.
a character dying.
Well, no,
An
he didn't
episode
say it.
that's-
You just said that.
You just said it, not me.
You literally said it earlier.
No, I didn't. I said, I know. I said at the end of the episode with the mushroom kiss. I said nothing about what
John's
happened to
correct.
Tess.
He did not mention anything
We'll
about
go
a death,
back.
and neither did I, because
We'll go
I
back.
said it was a fucking tragedy.
Like, it's a thing that happened in a decade-old game, but, like, still.
Look, that's like saying, guys, I can't believe you said Aerith died. What
I'm gonna
the
go.
fuck?
I'm gonna go back and.
What?
You're probably right. I don't
Just
know.
let me live that, because I'm rarely right.
You don't
on
have
this
to believe
podcast.
John, but you can trust me to make the right decisions.
I am rarely right ever, so let me just bask in this.
But yeah, anyway, The Last of Us, really good so far. Yeah, I'm having fun. Wait, what have you been playing?
I have been playing a Space for the Unbound, which is a little indie game that we got a code for.
What kind of game is this, Britt?
It's basically just like a little slice of life game.
Ooh,
Hell yeah.
But it takes place in Indonesia, which is really cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and it's a game that deals with depression and anxiety, and just mental health issues and real life issues.
Beautiful
and
pixel art too.
There's beautiful fucking pixel art.
Ooh.
It's
I was
got
thinking about
90s
picking this up.
Yeah, it's got 90s pixel art. It's really good. Reb just recently tweeted about it. She said that it is, the ending has made her cry for an hour straight, and I'm fully expecting that because I almost bawled at the beginning of the game. It's just it's like slice of life, and you think it's fun, and then you just hit these moments where you're like, oh, okay, like that's something that's happening.
I imagine it hits. Does it hit harder if you've gone through that stuff yourself? I imagine.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And not to say that's like dismissive of anybody who hasn't had, anxiety or depression issues. But I think it's it's like a 7-hour game, so it really just kind of it's a good amount. And once again, we received a code for this, so I'm going to go into more detail about it once we record our after hours for it or our review for it. But it deals with issues, but it doesn't like heavily put it on you, right? Like some games do that really bad where they try to deal with like anxiety and depression, and it's just too much to the point where you're not even enjoying it because it's just, you know, this game is really cute about it. Like there's cats, you go around and name the cats.
I'm listening.
Yes.
What did you name the cats, Britt?
Well, there's
Tell
like
us.
a bunch of them, and like there's a JoJo Bizarre's Adventure reference.
What's that?
It's an anime.
How do you not? Never mind.
What's an anime?
Anyway, so it's just a really like I'm so thankful that we got this code because I was really interested in it because I was looking for games to pick for my fantasy critic. And this one came up and it's basically based on 90s pixel art. So I was like, "Oh, this looks really fun. It looks like a little slice of life." And it's based in Indonesia. Like I want to support games that you know, take place outside of the norm. So I actually, Finn is our PR guy. We love Finn. Finn is wonderful.
We do love Finn.
He is wonderful. I asked him if he'd reach out to the creators, which are, the developer is Mojikin, and the publishers are Toge Productions and Chorus Worldwide. And we were able to get a code the day it launched. So I had streamed the first day, and then I knew that wasn't going to be a game that I wanted to fully commit to streaming because it was going to have some hard themes, and I just kind of wanted to enjoy that for myself, considering how awful my last year was. So that's what I've been doing. I've just been taking it slow, going through it at my own pace. And I'm still playing Overwatch, occasionally Fortnite in my downtime, and I've also been just questing in WoW as well for the new expansion, which has been fun. It's I committed to doing this once my friend passed, and I knew that they were going to release this expansion, and because he's the one that initially got me into WoW and everything, and I know he would have been 100% about this expansion, so I had committed to playing it and just trying to like honor his memory that way. So I've just been going through that and playing WoW.
Awesome. Nice.
That's what I'm playing.
Yeah.
Britt, I think that's really admirable.
Thank you. It's hard for me to talk about because one, he's gone, no longer here anymore, and two, you know, I've been so openly public about Blizzard and the harassment suits and, you know, not wanting to support them. But, you know, at the end of the day, I just have to do something for me.
Yep.
And if other people are going to judge me for that, then that is their prerogative. That's, you know, they can do it if they want. But I'm enjoying myself, and it's good to think about him in a way that's not sad and that I can just remember him by. So.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
Do you think, you know, not related to WoW, do you guys think that the sequel to A Space for the Unbound will be called A Space for the Bound, a BDSM tale?
Fucking
I hope
hell.
so. I hope so.
The sequel to
wouldn't
this game is just going to be I Was a Teenage Exocolonist. That came out last year. So
I mean,
Yeah.
it's a game about teenagers, so maybe aged up a little bit.
Yeah, you know,
You know.
like 21 and up, you know, something like that. But by the way, Britt, I just saw what you put in the Discord chat there. Shout out to CJ. Derek, you need more wine already?
No, he
Well,
needs
it's-
more
It's
bourbon
rum
and
and cider.
yeah, rum and cider.
Oh,
my
that's
bad.
right. That's what you were drinking. That's right. Sorry. My brain like blocked that shit out fucking immediately when you said it. I
Eat
love you,
shit,
Derek.
John.
I will not eat shit, Derek. I won't. I was gonna make a mean comment about somebody's cooking, but the thing is I can't because everybody on this podcast is like a great fucking cook. So I literally
That or
like,
they've managed to hide this
Yeah.
long. So
like Britt made the best fucking cookies
yeah, this cookies
for
were bomb as
Christmas.
shit.
and mailed them out to everyone on the podcast, and I still fucking think about
I had
those
to like,
chocolate chip cookies.
I had to like steal the container back from my wife, who was like,
I make
taking it
really good
into her
cookies.
office.
That's like
ate-
I will brag about that to the day I die. I make really good
ate-
cookies.
I ate like 80% of the chocolate chip cookies, and Vicky got so pissed because there was like
she
four,
should.
there was like 4 left, and she was like, "Hey, save 2 of those for me." Okay, I was like, "You got it, you got it." And then like at 1 o'clock in the morning, I just woke up and like walked downstairs and ate the fuck out of the rest of the cookies, and then like went back upstairs and went to bed, back to bed. The next day, I got home from work. She was like, "What the fuck, John?" She was like, "What the fuck?" And I was like, "Look, I can't deny who I am."
Which is
Like-
funny because my least favorite batch that came out was the chocolate chip cookies.
They were
because
fucking great.
They
were
didn't
great.
rise how they
Well,
were supposed to, and
But like Britt, here's the thing. Like she was like, "Why didn't you eat them in front of me, you fucking coward? Are you a coward?" I was like, "Yes, I am a coward." I was like, "I am absolutely a coward. That's why I did it at 1 in the morning."
oh, I love Vicky
Like,
so much.
I was like, "But you know what? Check this shit out." I set a fucking alarm. I set a fucking alarm for 1 o'clock in the morning called "Eat the Cookies." And
Did you
I did it.
really?
Yes.
You're such an asshole. I'm gonna send Vicky just an entire batch of chocolate chip, and you can't have any.
You think for fucking 1 second I'm not taking that shit to work?
Oh, I'm gonna tell her to hide it. She works at home. You have to leave.
You literally just, Britt, what do I do for a living? I can find shit. I'll find fucking whatever I have to. Okay, and especially with cookies.
My fucking cookies.
John's really
I will-
incriminating himself live on the internet right now.
I am literally a private investigator. Okay, and I'm not really a private investigator, but I will find the fucking cookies.
That's
I'll
what a
do
private
that shit.
investigator would say. They don't.
Derek, what's our topic tonight, bud?
Okay, we got a couple.
Cookies.
Neither's good news, unfortunately, and neither's necessarily like super new, but since we've had 2 weeks of not really talking about news, we collected what we thought were notable things to talk about that are in line with the sort of topics that we cover here at SDGC. So first off, let's actually start with Ubisoft, because that happened first. So let's hit these in chronological order that will soothe my brain gremlins. Ubisoft released they had their investors call. This is like 2 weeks ago at this point, maybe a little more than that.
It was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And
Probably article.
it turns out Ubisoft's not doing very good.
Not at all.
Their
Hang on.
2022 sales were like dramatically bad. And they canceled several unannounced games. They delayed Skull and Bones again.
The
That
sixth
game's
time,
never
Derek.
releasing.
The
They
sixth
has to.
delay.
They are legally obligated.
Yeah, but the talk was that they were legally obligated to release it in that specific window last year, and it's been delayed twice since then. So I don't know.
I
what
think
that was.
they have to have negotiated. They took money from like a government. like
Do we know which one?
it's
Not
it's-
the
wasn't
government, it's a
wasn't
government.
wasn't it
Government.
Singapore?
It was
I'm gonna check.
Singapore. Yes.
I think it was the government of Singapore that invested in it. I could be wrong, but anyway, like that, they cut like hundreds of millions of dollars in costs.
Holy shit! No
They-
wonder.
I want to say they announced layoffs, some amount of layoffs. And what's fucking incredible is Yves Guillemot sent out a message to the employees and to the rest of the company, basically going all like, we've got to tighten our belts and you all are going to have to fucking bootstrap up.
No.
make me some
You
more
gotta give me
money.
a corporate Derek voice. You
Yeah.
Yeah, do it. Let's hear
I
it, Derek.
can't,
Let's hear
I'm not corporate. And here's the problem is I don't have
Do it in French.
I don't have a good French accent, which is
Oh,
funny.
I don't
given-
believe that for a second.
Given
Do it-
that I am heavily French.
Just do
but-
Monty Python and the Holy Grail French.
All you have to do is talk like this.
I'm just reading here. There's no way. There's no wonder they've got no money because apparently Skull and Bones has cost them up to $150 million to make.
we'll fucking get into that. But anyway, yeah, Yves Guillemot is like, hey, this is bad, and things are gonna keep getting worse unless y'all do your jobs right. That's an overly strict and unkind reading of his words, but people who worked at Ubisoft were not very happy about that email, were not very happy at the implication being that it had anything to do with the quality of the work from the devs. And the thing is, I'm inclined to agree with them, because let's look at Ubisoft's actual output over the last few years.
What did they release last? We'll get into that, I guess. But I'm thinking they've only released
Spark of Hope.
one game.
They started
Sparks of
delaying a
Hope.
lot of games beginning after Breakpoint underperformed. They
Do you think-
overhauled a bunch. They basically said, because this was a common criticism that so far had just been like the niche online circles where it was like, oh, a lot of Ubisoft games are very similar, haha. But like they were still selling like
kinda true,
shitloads.
but-
And then Breakpoint came out, and that was when they actually saw like, oh fuck, this game tanked. So now these complaints were actually translating into their financials.
Because
and
that's
they-
how it goes. Is
Yeah.
a lot of times when you are hearing complaints,
it's a
over and over
precursor. It's
again,
a leading indicator that
it
something
takes
is wrong.
time for
Yeah.
that stuff to impact. But when it hits, it fucking hits hard.
Do you think
So
this is
they-
why they've just announced 6 different Assassin's Creed games? Because they are
Probably
desperate for investors.
because Assassin's Creed is almost one of their only consistent money makers.
It's all
at this point.
it's all they've got at this point. Like Prince of Persia, we don't know if that's even releasing.
Valhalla was their best-selling
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed, I think.
In 2022, I'm going to list everything they released in 2022.
Right, let's see.
Okay.
So-
There
hell.
on systems. So there was Rainbow Six Extraction, which
Oh,
is a spin-off of Rainbow Six Siege.
And
That
watch
was
out
straight to Game Pass. Yeah.
Yeah, but like the problem is it's kind of competing against Rainbow Six, like, and it's also been kind of pushed as being a lesser product than Rainbow Six Siege. Like the
Also a bit
community's
shit.
not moving on because it's just not what they're looking for. But like that's a game. We've got a collection of ports of Assassin's Creed games to various platforms. Fucking Trivial Pursuit, Roller Champions. Remember
wasn't that shut down?
Oh, almost immediately, right?
Yeah, wasn't it killed like 3 months later? There's no wonder they're bleeding money if this is what they're doing.
So
Yeah.
It's
That was a free-to-play Switch game that I think got ported to other systems, but
hang
like
on.
it disappeared, right? Because it was never like a serious product in the grand scheme of things.
forget Just
Rocksmith-
Dance.
Just Dance, which has not been performing for the last few years. Rocksmith Plus, which is cool but is a niche. Like that's a service. That's not really a game. That is they have transitioned that away from gaming and more into like
It's also been
education software.
It's been 8 years since the last Rocksmith game.
Yeah, well that's the point with like Rocksmith Plus is more of like a service.
Right.
Of like it's more of like a music learning service than it is a game at this point. The only thing they really released in 2022 that would most people would consider like a big, this is something that they spent money on, that they might have made money on in kind, would be Mario and Rabbids.
And that didn't
And
make money.
We heard that it underperformed expectations. I don't know that that's the same as it not making money.
Yeah, fair.
We don't really know sales numbers on Mario and Rabbids, and we don't know really what they were expecting. I can fully believe that Mario and Rabbids did fine, but
Yeah,
didn't. But it
yeah,
didn't
or-
carry the
Right.
entire fucking company
So
through 2022 the way they wanted.
Mario Rabbids, the first one, sold a lot of copies. Like,
Yeah.
And
in
I
2022.
guarantee you this did too. The problem is that Ubisoft is like, this is going to be a 20 million. Like, they probably had completely ridiculous fucking sales projections for
Yeah.
this, and,
Can
it didn't meet them. Which
Can I jump
Jeff.
in real quick, Derek?
Yeah.
Were you, just because I really want to jump off this. So here, I just want to throw out another example, and then I'm going to throw something out there. So in the 12 months between November of 2016 and 2017, here is what Ubisoft released. Watch Dogs 2, Assassin's Creed The Ezio Collection, Steep, For Honor, Just Dance, Ghost Recon Wildlands, Star Trek Bridge Crew, Mario Rabbids 1, and Assassin's Creed Origins, South Park: The Fractured But Whole, Just Dance 2018. Now, whatever your taste in games, those games all did quite well. They were all generally very critically
lot of
well
big
received.
names.
I mean,
It's a lot of big names, and that's in 12 months. What is the difference? I'm going to throw this out there that around the time their performance and quality of their games started to deteriorate was when we really started to hear problems with the work culture and harassment and bullying and a toxic workplace. And there is a lot of studies out there that prove that employees that are happy and content and treated well not only work faster and work better, but produce better quality work.
we know
So-
that that's not got better, and even if you look forward to the next year of Ubisoft releases, there's 3 games. There's Skull and Bones, there's Assassin's Creed Mirage, and there's the new Avatar game, if that releases this year. So
Yeah.
something's got to give over there.
It's like a combination of things. I think it's definitely true that they had a mass exodus of talent. And we know we were hearing reports that they were struggling to bring people in to replace the people that were leaving because it was I mean it had blown up what the work culture was like in there, and you don't sign up for the sexual assault factory. Like that's just not what people fucking do. So there's that. I think there's also just a certain amount of Ubisoft has been broadly mismanaged for a while. And like you kind of pointed out, Jeff, a lot of things take their time to actually hit. They were releasing a lot of very samey games big samey games that were built on sort of the same basic foundation and structure. Oftentimes you had things like Far Cry and Assassin's Creed getting a new game every single year for a good stretch.
How did Far
and that
Cry 6
stopped-
sell? Did it sell well?
It had to do okay, but like
which one is that? Which one?
Far Cry 6 is the one with
Was Giancarlo Esposito?
fucking-
I
Yeah.
was under the impression that the Far Cry games had been going down in sales with every
5
release.
sold like bonkers. 5 sold
Did it?
crazy good.
Yeah, but
Did it
here's the
work-
question. Did it sell at full price? Because
Just
Ubisoft
sides
games-
constantly on sale.
Ubisoft games dropped to $40 in like 2 months, right? Like if that. So like that's part of the problem is a lot of these games are getting their prices slashed
right.
right out the gate. And then you've got a lot of these big releases that have been consistently mismanaged. You've got Skull and Bones. How many years has Skull and Bones
Doug.
been delayed over and over again?
Skull
Excellent
and Bones has been
puppy.
Skull and Bones has been reset in development at least 3 times. From what we've heard from the reports from inside the company, new directors keep coming on and just starting the game again.
Yeah.
And
And at
it's
no
happened 3
point
times.
has the game had an identity that really seems like it, like, at no point has that seemed like a game that people would actually care that much about based on what they've shown us.
I
Right?
still don't even like. What is this? Like, what is it? Like Sea of Thieves, but Ubisoft? Like, what the fuck is this?
It started
Sea of
with-
Thieves, but worse. You can't get off your boat, and it's the idea from Assassin's Creed Black Flag that whole the boat stuff did so well. People loved it, and they wanted to make a game out of that. They just waited 10 years before they did it.
Yeah. They
Like,
wanted a
nobody gives a
big
shit anymore.
multiplayer, the boat stuff from the Assassin's Creed games that had boat stuff. You have stuff like Beyond Good and Evil 2,
That's never
right?
come
Which
out.
ever.
Beyond Good and Evil 2 has,
started.
how many times has that been
It's been
completely
in development.
restarted?
That game doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's been in development as long. And it's been in development longer than Duke Nukem Forever at this stage. The gap between announcement and eventual release is now bigger than Duke Nukem Forever.
And the
You're never gonna
scope
play it.
of the scope of what this game was supposed to be at the times where they have actually spoken about it is insane. Like
Wait, hey,
Ubisoft
Joseph,
keeps Yes, Brett?
Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Yeah,
Oh,
Beyond
okay.
Good and Evil 2. Ubisoft has I think they've kind of strip mined a lot of their games into being things where, you know, people just didn't need to buy into a lot of this stuff. They've lost a lot of talent, and they've got a lot of they've got multiple big expensive projects that have been burning holes in their wallets forever with
But the Star
no
Wars
income.
license, they've got the Star Wars license, that must have cost a small fortune. And that's not coming out for a few years, whatever they're making.
Yeah. So it's like, it's just a tremendously mismanaged company where there's almost nothing of note coming. Yeah, like
mean,
Delby
the-
says, how do we make Beyond Good and Evil 2 a service game that has nothing to do with the original
The-
game? Like
It goes back to like the thing I was trying to get at, which is, you know, there might be some problems beyond, like you said, like with the homogeneity of a lot of their games. But in general, I really do believe that if they fix their company and fix their culture, it will help them hire good people, good workers, smart people
Good
who
and
actually
evil
want to work
workers.
there, who will then in turn be motivated and happy and content, and the games will just get better. It starts there. So to hear Eves fucking say like, oh, make better games when he has not done shit in like 3 or 4 years to improve the company, like, yeah, it's on you, buddy. It's on the people at the top to create an environment, and I'm sure there's tools issues too. I'm sure there's communications issues. Create an environment where people can work together easily, and aren't pressured and are happy and aren't crunching all the time, which I'm sure is still happening there.
Do you think it's too late at this point, Jeff? Though.
Yeah. But I think that's the first piece, and I really believe when you get all that in place, the rest will come. The games, the creativity will reemerge, the new fresh ideas in the games, and allow them to breathe. I think it all flows from that, and until they do that, I don't see it changing.
Well, and that
Do you
comes from the
think
top.
Ubisoft will exist in this form in 3 years?
Not in this.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, 3
they can
years
bleed out
yeah.
for a while, I think.
Yeah. One thing that's gonna have to happen is at this point, I don't think it could be any more clear that the Guillemot family has to fucking go.
Okay,
Right? Their
Derek,
control over the company has been poisonous, and it's only gotten worse.
When did he take leadership?
long time ago. He's
It's
been there
been a
for a
long
while.
time.
Like,
But
Derek, I just want to point out it's Guillemot, not Guillemot. Okay,
1986.
What?
it's Guillemot.
Are you fucking kidding me?
It's not.
Yes,
Is it?
yes,
No.
I am 100% kidding.
I was like,
you.
it's fucking Guillemot,
He's trolling you.
you shithead. But yeah, like at this point, it has become like people used to love Yves Guillemot, and used to love some of the games that he was attached to back in the day.
He's not a dev though, right? He's just a guy who
It's
owns.
just a
the-
guy, yeah.
He's like he produced a lot of so because I
He
remember
kind
like
of has the same energy as what Reggie had, but it happens that Reggie's not a pervert, and this guy is, apparently, allegedly.
I miss
I don't
Reggie.
know anything
I miss
about
Reggie.
Reggie's a decent enough dude. I swear to God, I remember people attaching him to, but maybe it is just that he was a
Yeah, I don't think he's an
fucking
actual
business
dev.
person. But
I think he's just a business guy.
at this point, it is clear that he's as bad for Ubisoft as fucking Bobby Kotick is for Activision Blizzard.
So they've cancelled 7 games in the last year now.
Yeah.
What
Meanwhile,
do we
think of some of
those
the
7 projects were?
Think of some of the IP that Ubisoft is sitting on that are going
Splinter
just
Cell.
fucking unused. Splinter Cell is obvious. Prince of Persia.
Cell-
Why has it taken this long for a Prince of
I
Persia
don't
project
think
to get moving?
because
game's
that
coming out.
game's not coming out.
And that
It's not coming
remake's
out.
not coming out, but we shouldn't have had to wait as long as we waited in between the fucking Xbox 360 one and now for that game to
absolutely
be
not.
real. Rayman is
Fuck. Rayman Legends is one of the best
when was the
platformers
last-
ever made.
Rayman Origins and Legends are great. They constantly
was the
re-release
last
the
one.
old games, and
When was the last Rayman game?
2014.
Legends.
It was 2014.
Was it
it's almost a
2014?
decade ago.
It was re-released. It was re-released for Switch.
Remember,
much
it
later.
came out. It came out on the Wii U at launch, or shortly after launch,
It's
something like
such a
that.
good game.
great
I
game.
can't say enough positive things about Rayman Legends. And we haven't. And the last time we've seen, and then we didn't see Rayman for what 7 years, and then he appeared in the Mario Rabbids like season pass, and then he's gone again.
Yeah,
Like,
they had a
what's going
great
on?
they had a great indie publishing arm, right? That they put out weird stuff like
They've got
like
an indie
Go
game coming
Home,
out next
and
year.
Child of Light.
This year even. Valiant Hearts 2, that war game.
Oh yeah,
It comes out this year, but it's a mobile game. It's a
Child of
Netflix
Light
mobile
was
game.
such a good fucking game.
don't give a
Like,
shit. Don't give a shit about mobile
Child-
games.
Child of Light was awesome.
Child of Light was fantastic.
Valiant
Yeah.
Hearts was fucking great. What a unique game that was.
Trials.
And
They've sat on Trials for like 5 years now.
They own
Those
the
are-
Might and Magic license.
yeah, you told
What
me
are they
that a while
doing? What are
back,
they
and I
doing
was
with
like,
Might and
Driver.
Magic?
They own Driver. Like,
Yeah.
what do we do? What? So some things. Somebody's lost the list inside Ubisoft of games they own
Yeah.
And they've just scrawled on a whiteboard Assassin's Creed and Far Cry. And that's all they can remember. Because there's no world in which you can have South Park and not have made a third game.
Yeah. The only company I've seen pull off the kind of turnaround that Ubisoft honestly needs to pull off is Capcom.
And Square.
And
I mean, dude, Final Fantasy 14 saved that company.
that's
So
I think Square is in a drastically different situation than Ubisoft, and I don't think that you can compare. Like Square at their lowest point has never been in as bad a shape as Capcom was.
Yeah,
at
at the
one point,
lowest point,
and
they've
Ubisoft
always
is
had.
now.
At the lowest point, they've always had Final Fantasy VII.
Capcom was like months from being,
Shuttering.
I don't know,
Yeah.
like
Didn't-
bankrupt
didn't
or like
declare
selling
back
out.
then.
They were in bad shape.
Didn't
They
they
were in bad
declare?
shape.
Now
I don't
look at
remember them
them.
declaring, but
It was, I think, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite was that. Was that
That might
the
have been
lowest
it.
point?
That might have been the lowest point for them.
Mm-hmm.
I think that
That game was terrible.
I remember them.
Wait, what game was terrible?
Marvel vs. Capcom.
I want you to
Infinite.
shut the fuck up,
No,
John.
Infinite.
Infinite was the best fighting
No.
game released on the PlayStation 4.
No.
I just like.
Yes,
I
it
just
is-
It was so fucking bad.
It looks messy. It is easily, from a gameplay perspective, one of the best fighting
Yeah, if
games
you've
we
never played
saw.
a fighting game before.
Yes, it is. Look at me. I used to play MVC3 competitively. Like, you
Yeah,
gotta
that's why
listen to
this
me
is
on
so
this.
surprising to me.
Infinite was fucking good. It just looked fucking bad and had
even
questionable
Terra-
roster choices.
Tara is trying to get away from this terrible.
I am gonna
like-
defend Marvel vs. Capcom
Is
Infinite.
Ubisoft currently
I defend a king. So Derek, I got
Thank you.
I will
The
always
gays
trust
stick
Derek
together.
on fighting games and mecha
The
games.
gays stick together.
Yeah. Hang on, my wife shurikened chocolate at me through the bottom of the door.
Do
so.
you-
Yeah, you
Wait,
seemed
what
very
kind of-
annoyed by it.
What kind of? I would
It
not
was
be annoyed
so
if my wife bought me
hard. She
chocolate.
flung them like out of a slingshot.
Do you guys think that Ubisoft's caught in the
Like,
precipice between
to the
being?
point that I texted you, I was like, "Are you okay?"
I saw him flinch. I was like, might be a dog or something. I didn't think it was chocolate. Do you guys think that Ubisoft is currently teetering between being Capcom coming back and Atari, and well, we know what happened to Atari. Like,
I don't think they're like in the. I don't think they're in like the kind of danger that Capcom.
do you think
was.
they're in the
I mean,
danger of being bought soon?
The thing
No.
with Ubisoft is like when everything else is falling apart, they still have Assassin's Creed, which is one
Yep.
of the biggest franchises on the
That's
planet.
why they announced like 8 million Assassin's Creed
It's like
things
it was-
because they're
Yeah.
they
like,
need
when
that
all else
franchise
fails,
to
they can
save
just
them.
triple down on that, and even if they have to lay off thousands of people, they will see it through on the back of Assassin's
Worst it
Creed.
comes to
somehow.
worst, they release a port, like a remaster of Assassin's Creed 4, the last Assassin's Creed pop Assassin's Creed game people loved. Like that was just about the assassins, and they're raking the money.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I don't. I don't see anything happening to Ubisoft from like a. I don't think they're not gonna get sold.
Now ask me in 3 to 5 years. But
I don't.
Right.
Yeah, I could see a Sony picking them up once they are in that situation, because Sony at this stage, from what we know, are kind of desperate to get what they can, considering Microsoft is basically
Yeah,
hoovering up the industry.
Right, but like also I don't really like we haven't really seen what that's done from Microsoft yet because they're
Yeah, we
still
won't
not.
know for years.
Sony's still selling every PS5 they
Yeah,
make, so like I don't
they're
think
not,
they need to.
and
this is a
I mean,
great transition
Yeah.
point.
Yeah,
So,
let's do it.
Talking about Microsoft hoovering up the entire industry, and yet Microsoft just announced they're laying off 10,000 people.
It
Did
went from
you-
blow to suck.
Before
Now-
we go into this, did you guys see the statement? I don't know if it was before or afterwards from Phil Spencer that was all about cancel culture or something, and it
What?
was the most. It was the weirdest statement in the world.
I'm not-
Hold on.
I'm going to leave that one fucking be and see what happens from it. I'm not. Phil Spencer is a fucking guy, right? Like,
Phil Spencer exists.
mhm. It's weirdly out of character for him. He says something about culture of like criticism and cancellation.
Yeah, it's struck
And-
me as the weirdest.
I think he might. I mean, is he talking about like canceling games? like
That's what
he-
some people are saying he might have said or meant. It doesn't.
Let's-
The problem is it grammatically doesn't make a
cancelling
ton
the
of
games.
sense.
Yeah,
Well, that's
let's
part
go-
of it.
Let's go through the top. So what's the topic, Derek? What's the news story?
Well, the news story is Microsoft and the tech sector broadly, but like Microsoft is the important player for us. Microsoft laying off 10,000 employees. We don't know how many of those have to do with the gaming division or other divisions because it's Microsoft like as a whole, but it's definitely very weird and very frustrating to see Microsoft buying up all these gaming companies. And then we get the whiplash of, well, they're standing out of the way for unionizing, which is like undisputably a good thing. But then they're going to turn around and lay off, again, 10,000 people.
They reportedly completely
So,
gutted
to-
343.
And
That too. Yeah.
I'll just follow up on that and get my piece out of the way as well at the same time, I guess. It was 10,000 across Microsoft. We know there's been rumors of numbers. I've heard somewhere like 60 at 343, but we know the bulk of the ones in the Xbox division were at 343. Who shipped Halo Infinite recently, and then Bethesda Game Studios, where the hardest hit. Again, we don't know the numbers, but to me, what stood out from this whole thing is there was a lot of rumors, and I'm not going to get into that. You guys all know I'm not one to believe like insiders and leaks and stuff like that. There was a lot of shit flying around about 343 and Halo. I'm not going to even touch that. But
they
the thing
released a
is, like,
statement, but that's
the
all.
way that this was announced, it is so transparently like we talked about, and there's been people talking about like a lot of these tech companies, they just do a strict revenue per employee calculation, and if that is too low, they will just fire a bunch of employees so that the revenue per employee goes up. And the fact that they announced the Xbox layoffs along with the rest of the company makes it clear it has nothing to do with your game. It has nothing to do with it underperforming. It has nothing to do with how you're delivering follow-ups. They said, Microsoft, an organization, needs to let go this many people to save some costs. We need to let some go from the Xbox division. Who are two of the biggest studios we have? It's 343 and Bethesda. They both got hundreds of employees.
They can't touch Activision yet, right? I'm not wrong.
No,
in
yeah,
saying
they
that.
can't even like talk to Activision until that deal closes.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's also super frustrating because the optics are so fucking bad when you just dropped 60 or 70 billion dollars to acquire some of the biggest studios on the planet, and you're like talking to fucking Dave at 343. Sorry, Dave, you've been here 10 years, but you gotta go because Activision is coming in
There
and
was
we
a
gotta
show
make room for them.
There
Like,
was a show yesterday that was watching it it felt wrong because I'm watching it and I'm like, half those people might not even be there anymore. Like,
Yeah.
it's something about it every single layoff feels icky, but something about this one feels particularly icky, as Jeff was like leading towards.
Yeah. Well, and it's frustrating because it's part of a broader trend going on in the tech sector, like as a whole right now, which is just mass layoffs across all of these tech companies. And there's a lot of reasons behind it, but by and large, it boils down to, as Jeff pointed out, it's literally just numbers not high enough, so fire some people. Because interest rates are high, so the debt that all of these tech companies take on in humongous amounts now costs them way more than they anticipated. So that is a number on a spreadsheet that had to grow bigger by X%. And to offset that, what that does to their balance sheet, they need to cut X% of cost. And a cheap way to do that, an easy way to do that is lay off fucking people.
They hear the word recession and executives shit themselves.
Right.
Like any CEO, I've worked under some weird people, let's say, and if they hear about money going down or a recession, their first response will be, okay, we're getting rid of half the team. Like,
well, it's you bring yourself up, right? And like, unfortunately, we've seen this happen in gaming media repeatedly this year and very heavily recently with the fandom layoffs at like Giant Bomb and GameSpot and it's kind of the same thing.
I was laid off in December from a smaller company, but in games journalism just after they'd bought a major property, which is I know the reason that I was laid off. It was that, but to see fandom, and it was fandom, it was launcher. To see all that happen, weeks afterwards is the most heartbreaking thing in the world.
Yeah, and it ends up being in many cases the same thing, which is it's bullshit economics, because all of these companies are making more than enough money at the end of the day. None of these companies are going under. It's just a way to chase profit, cut cost, make number go up.
At the end of the day, all of the debt, if they're in debt, all the debt they have is taken on by the CEOs who make stupid decisions. None of this is the fault of the employee. None of this is the fault of the working class. It is the fault of the corporate class that chooses to. I'm getting a bit preachy here, but it's the fault of the corporate class.
This is a show for that.
I mean, there are issues at Microsoft right now that you go clearly deeper even than what we're talking about here.
Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella made $55 million for the 2022 fiscal year.
Yeah.
So we're laying off 10,000 people.
I'm concerned.
$55 million is how much the CEO
I
made.
know it's the weirdest sense of the world, considering everything, but I am worried for when Activision Blizzard is fully acquired and Kotick goes. Kotick finally goes. Spencer takes over. Whoever he gets in. I'm worried for how many people are just going to get laid off.
Yeah.
Because what projects are they just going to?
Well, I mean, every acquisition has, I'm not in the games industry, but I work for a large company. We acquire like several companies here. Like people, there's just not space for everyone. It's like the easy one is you get the deal to close, and then very quickly they will say, oh yeah, these people do need to go. We already have these people. We already have people filling these roles, and a lot of people will just leave because their current role doesn't exist anymore, and they don't like their new run. So it's Microsoft has a lot of fucking work to do. We've talked about it to death, but they got a lot of work to do there. And
I don't. So Microsoft had a. I know this is slightly adjacent. Microsoft had recently a. I want to say it was an investors call, and they spoke about. It was mainly the Xbox stuff. They spoke about sales last year, and in almost every single field, they are down. They aren't selling what they think. They aren't selling as much as they were selling the year before, and I think that might be part of it. They are realizing that to a certain extent, the only thing that's selling is Game Pass. People are buying these consoles that they are making at a loss.
I think even Game Pass is tailored off a bit, and the unique thing about Microsoft in the gaming space is unlike, like Sony has all. People would be shocked what Sony has their arms into in terms of like even like medical equipment and things like that. But PlayStation, as a part of Sony, is so much bigger than Xbox is of Microsoft.
Oh no, dude! Sony's biggest moneymaker is like real estate and shit.
Yeah, but like in terms of Microsoft, like Xbox is I think probably still 5% or less of their revenue.
According to the report, I've just pulled it up. Xbox in general is about 5%. Content and services were down 12% last year. That's Game Pass, and hardware was down 13%. So they make most of their money on like computers and stuff.
Well, so like there is a deeper issue happening.
I believe anyway
at Xbox Studios, right? Like this week we've got what was the number, Derek? What 10,000 people laid off? Is that 10, how much 000, it was?
Yeah,
10,000 people laid off. Last week, or it might have been even earlier this week, Halo Infinite.
That's a lot of fucking people.
Is no longer getting any sort of
apparently it was never getting story DLC. Apparently that was just talk swirled around by insiders that somehow manifested itself into actual real stuff. Because somebody in I think it's somebody about Windows Central. It was like they were never working on it. They were thinking about it, sure, but they weren't working on it.
Can I just ask, because I'm confused. When we say DLC, so when they announced Halo Infinite, the way they described it, this was from 343 and Microsoft, was that Halo Infinite is a platform, like the game,
Yeah.
and future Halo campaigns will be like basically DLC or expansions within Infinite. Like you will not buy Halo Infinite 2. It will just be there's a new campaign available in Halo Infinite. So when we say like they're not doing DLC, are we just saying like they're just moving on to the next or are we saying they're scrapping that whole
They aren't doing any like smaller expansions. So they're not gonna
Okay.
you're not gonna get a Last of Us Left Behind for Halo Infinite, whatever that'd be. You're getting what the equivalent of Halo 7, but probably in the Halo Infinite, platform. But something like
Everything about
it's
Infinite is confusing to me.
Yes, the way that they
it
tweeted
really
out a
fucking is.
statement. They tweeted out a statement just afterwards saying, "Oh, Halo and 3 are still together." That was it. That's the entire statement. Like, there's something
I
not being
was
said.
so excited for Infinite. It seemed so promising, and then
It had
wasn't.
it had a great launch. It
I
had
liked
good
it.
numbers. Everyone most people really liked the
I
campaign. Everyone loved the multiplayer, but
I'm a Shooty Bang campaign person. and
I
liked
interviewed the
it.
creative director, and he sounded so excited, and he made me so excited. And then the game came out, and I was like, "Oh shit!" I felt so bad because within a few weeks, numbers started going down.
Well,
And-
people seem to start complaining about it quickly after launch. If I am
Immediately.
remembering this correctly.
well, they were hit hard as well with some stuff. And not to say there was obviously some mismanagement there too, but I think the one thing a lot of people overlook, we had someone in the SDGC Discord who used to work at 343, and a lot of their map work and like levels were outsourced specifically in the Ukraine or Russia area. And when the
Shit.
invasion happened, that all that outsourcing, I think there was some artwork there as well, but largely it was their level pipeline for like multiplayer content and maps was essentially cut off. So I mean, there's multiple factors at play, but I'm sure it's not the only piece.
I mean,
And a lot of the reports did say that most of the layoffs were directed at the single player portion.
yeah,
of
it
the
was
team.
most of like it was like that area. The multiplayer's still very much in. But do you think this year we're going to see Sony do the same? Do you think we're going to see Nintendo do the same? Do you think Microsoft's going to do more? Because Google's just laid off a similar number.
I don't remember the last time Nintendo laid anyone off in huge numbers.
I'm
Like
sure it
maybe
happens. Nintendo, from everything we've heard, is Nintendo
Secular is how I describe them. They are
Nintendo
very
of Japan, which I know that Nintendo people are going to be mad at me that there is no such thing as Nintendo Japan. It's NCL, whatever. Don't give a shit. The Japanese branch of Nintendo, the main branch of Nintendo, pays people above average. They have healthy working hours, especially in comparison to like the Japanese, workforce. It is broadly a pretty good place to work.
Was it NC of America where those stories came out recently? Then
That was Nintendo of America,
Right.
Yes. And Nintendo of America's more subject to the whims
American.
of the American Silicon Valley kind of. They're
It's
not
more
Silicon
America.
Valley, but it's it's America. The good labor practices seem to be pretty exclusive to Nintendo Japan. We've heard too many stories we've heard a lot of weird fucking stories out of Nintendo of America for sure.
I do worry in the gaming industry in particular, like that if Dead Space Remake undersells by year's targets, because year's targets are always massive. If it undersells by even 1 million, they'll just start cutting. Like they killed Visceral, they just killed Visceral, and they
Yeah.
were in the middle of working on a Star Wars game at the time. Like they're not. They are trigger happy. The entire industry is a trigger happy industry. We as studios enjoy just killing entire projects. It's just something's got to change, and it's got to change soon.
This sentiment has been going around on Twitter recently, and it's true. Like, somebody had said somebody was, because I guess people are not happy with Destiny 2's multiplayer right now for whatever reason. I don't.
People
know,
ever
but-
happy with Destiny?
They must be because people keep playing it.
People
No,
keep
they
playing
hate playing it.
But people were like, "Oh, this game is held together by fucking duct tape." And then somebody in the industry who actually makes games was like, "If only you people knew just how many games and studios are held together by fucking duct tape."
Oh, it's all of them.
Basically, yeah.
Well, what
There's
we've
straight
learned
up-
in the last few years, especially from like Schreier's book and things like that, is basically, from my understanding, every game's a complete disaster. It gets rebooted 12 months before it launches, and in the last 6 weeks, it all comes together and they ship
that's
it.
how all of these.
That's how every
work.
game is made.
from every developer I've ever spoke to, I once spoke to a developer, I can't remember which studio it was, but they were talking about this random like object that was just placed in the room, and they couldn't get rid of this object because if they did, the game wouldn't load. Like, but it wasn't relevant to the story. It wasn't relevant to anything. It wasn't a room you could go into. It was just that if you got rid of that, the entire game would break because games are complicated. Like games are really complicated. And it's
I think I remember reading about this story. And they put it in the wall, right,
Yeah,
so that nobody could fuck with it. Yeah,
That's really fucking funny to me.
I can't think
Yes,
of what the
it
developer
is.
was, but they just put it in the wall so nobody could do anything. Oh, I mean, here's another one, and this is Fallout 3. I think it's Fallout 3. There's a monorail. Now, Bethesda couldn't figure out in that engine how to get vehicles working. So that monorail is a guy with a hat on. The hat is the monorail, and he's
That's
just
fucking
placed.
awesome.
He's placed slightly underground so that he's running really, really fast, and it simulates motion. So games are held together.
That's fantastic.
Games are held together by like
That's
Just
fucking
straight-
great.
Just because
Yeah.
of the Bethesda shout out and because we're almost at the end of the show and we're going a little bit off the rails here, I just need to follow that up with, so Bethesda, they couldn't get trains to work or whatever. They also famously have not been able to get ladders to work with like in every
Right.
Bethesda game.
Yes.
A ladder is just a loading screen. So I need to know in Starfield, will we get to climb a ladder with the power of the Series X, or will it still be a loading screen?
I think it's just a coding issue at this stage. I don't think they've hired someone who knows how a ladder works. Like that's the biggest issue here. Like if you read the story, Schreier's book, as Jeff said, it's a great example of it. There's stories in it that like you read them and you think this can't be real, and then you like if you're me, me,
I think we were a bit more naive when the book came out, and now we're all like, oh yeah, this
Yeah.
makes sense.
I'm jaded now.
Yeah.
But I spoke to a developer and I was like, but is this real? And he went, oh no, yeah. And I went, does it happen often? And he went, oh no, every single game we've made, we don't know what's happening. And I was like, you just don't know what's happening. It's like, no, we don't know what it's doing to the code. Like, we don't have a clue.
yeah. Games are a fucking mess, and they also make stupid amounts of money, but not for the people who make them and who have to figure out how to put a monorail as a man's hat who is running through the ground. Like
Funniest
those
story
people
in the world.
those people deserve all the money, right?
Now,
like
I'm just thinking of the monorail episode from The Simpsons.
Monorail.
Monorail.
I mean, we had yesterday, so we had the Microsoft show, and Bethesda's Shadow dropped a game, which is apparently incredible, and I've not played it yet because Last of Us. But like, games are magic. Games are magic. It's just that the shittier parts tend to rise above.
It's the
the rest.
capitalism around the
Yeah.
gaming that tends to
Right.
be awful for people.
All these indie games, especially Unbound, for example, sounds incredible. But if that was published by EA, all I'd hear about is the breakdowns that have happened in the studio.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is we should
So-
all rise up because this industry is miserable.
Yeah.
So Britt, you said that when we ended the podcast, you were going to sing the ending jingle.
I don't remember that.
Do you remember that, Britt?
No, I don't remember.
You know,
don't
I don't
remember that?
remember that either.
I have
to be
a
honest with
recording
you.
of her
You know
saying
what?
that. Hang on.
You know what? If you won't do it, coward, I will.
How?
No, make Tara do it.
I don't know that we're gonna convince her.
Look at her. She's way too sleepy for that. Look at this sleepy girl. She is way too sleepy for that. All right. We
Aw.
have reached the end of our time together. Ryan, thanks for joining us again, pal.
No worries.
Where
Yeah.
can people find you if they want to find you?
God. By the time this podcast goes up, on like stream-
Twitter
on
could be
Sam's-
gone. You never know.
Yeah, Twitter could be gone. I'm currently a freelancer. I'm writing for various websites. Retro Dodo. I'm working on a big Kingdom Hearts piece, which is why I played the game again. But by the time this goes up, I may have had something else come in. So keep an eye on my Twitter for that. It's at Easby Games.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, if nobody has anything else, God, this is the last podcast in January. In February,
God.
we're going to be playing Theat Rhythm Final Bar Line, which I'm super excited for. We're going to
Yes.
be playing Octopath Traveler 2. What else is coming out in February? what other big releases are? I feel like I'm missing one.
I feel like I'm
And-
missing one, and I don't know why.
I mean, there's
what am I
Resident
missing
Evil
here?
4 in March. But
You'll-
yeah, we got
you'll
some-
have
You know
to-
what? I'm gonna give a
You'll have to
shot.
get me in contact with your theater with them contact because I am desperate to cover that game.
What's that, Derek?
I'm gonna give a shout out to Deliver Us Mars.
Oh yes,
The sequel to Deliver Us the Moon. That's gonna be a good time. Returnal is hitting PC.
Wild Hearts is out next
Um,
month.
Wild
I'm
Hearts.
gonna give a shout out to not a big release, but Season: The Letter to the Future, which is
Oh,
out,
that looks
I think.
beautiful.
It
Yeah.
looks. I saw it in the like a PlayStation showcase a while ago, and I actually picked it up at Fantasy Critic, and then I dropped it because I was like, it was a little bit of an honor, but like
Oh,
the reviews are really good. It looks fucking gorgeous, and it sounds like just exactly my kind of game. I'm super excited for that.
we're missing a big release, guys. Like a Dragon Ishin's out
Like a
next month, and
Dragon
so-
Ishin
and
is
so
what I was
is
gonna
PSVR
say.
too.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
I remember
So
this
And
shit now.
and so is Return to
The P-
Dreamland Deluxe.
And the
So-
PSVR 2, the entire console just releases next month.
Yeah.
That's going to be $600 I'll never see again.
Hefty month. I'm excited. I'm excited. We got good stuff
No,
coming.
no massive AAA games though, but that's a bit
Nope.
weird.
That's fine. Folks.
John, but Derek and John and Britt and everyone here, before we all go, I just have one more thing to say.
Say
Yeah.
it, please.
The best thing about being me is that I get you all as friends.
Oh.
Apparently, Brittany doesn't agree.
Brit's like fucking out. Good night, fuckers.